Unlocking growth, access, efficiency, and trust for the vendor and provider community should be part of the distribution journey, suggests V.S. Hariharan, Managing Director and Group CEO of the Redington Group. As an IT leader in APJ and META, he believes that distributors must provide value beyond boxes, logistics, and credit, and provide a lot of other things in today's business environment. What role would distributors play in the deployment of AI technologies? Which technologies are gaining traction in Meta and APJ? How are currency fluctuations, inflation, and high interest rates impacting these regions? Hariharan shares his thoughts on these topics and more with host Frank Vitagliano in this episode of Beyond Distribution with GTDC. Listen and enjoy.
Welcome, everybody, to our next edition of Beyond Distribution. Today, I'm thrilled to have V.S. Hariharan, the Managing Director and Group CEO of the Redington Group. Harry, welcome.
Thank you, Frank, and thanks for having me on this webcast.
Oh, yeah, no, great to have you. And one of the things we do when we start typically is just ask you to talk a little bit about your professional journey. You know, how did you get started in the industry? Where have you been, and how did you end up with Redington Group?
Sure, sure. Happy to. I've been now nearly 35 plus years in the tech industry. It's been a great career journey and a tapestry of diverse roles across different sectors and markets in the tech industry. And each phase has pretty much shaped my approach to tech distribution. So I'll talk a little bit about each of the phases. So I started out in a company called Wipro in India, which is a pretty big conglomerate, and a great formative experience in the late 80s, and the computer industry was just rising at that moment. And I got a chance to work with them on a range of products, starting with Unix boxes, believe it or not, for enterprise customers, and setting up PC channels early on. This is just beginning to happen. Wipro also had a partnership, a joint venture partnership with Sun Workstations and Servers those days. So got a chance to lay my hands on getting into the CAD/CAM market and into the BFSI vertical, stock exchanges, financial services, etc. And I actually worked in some very interesting, challenging markets in India, the eastern region, coal and steel belts, selling products into those belts, and taught me adaptability, taught me how to identify emerging needs in a less chartered market. Great formative experience for 5 years only. Joined Hewlett Packard out of Singapore and spent nearly 18 years. It just went by so quickly. Worked on great products, creating products for the market as well as taking them to market, both global and Asia Pacific roles in the printer and PC spaces. I learned how to create scalable products. And in fact, I could say, the product manager for the first color inkjet globally. I led that, and how to execute with precision, how to drive growth, all of that. What I really learned at Hewlett Packard is how to innovate in the product, how to innovate with the business model, how to go to market. The printer business when I joined was $1 billion, and when I left, it was 26 billion. I was part of that growth, and I had a small role to play in their overall growth. Played a variety of senior leadership roles in HP. I tried my hand at entrepreneurship right after that with Third Wave Power, a company I founded, a startup delivering solar products to rural off-grid communities. Great experience. We touched over 6 million customers in India and East Africa. Taught me agility, resourcefulness, power of solving challenges with cash flow, empathy, innovation, all kinds. Great experience. And I was also on the board and advisory of a few companies at that moment. I served in the Redington board for about 10 years during that time while I was doing the startup and advisory for a bunch of companies. And then, of course, the opportunity came up to lead Redington in my current role, which I've actually completed 2 years today.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. And I blend all these experiences because we work across enterprises, mid-market, consumer, across various geographies, India, Middle East, Africa, Turkey, etc. It's shaped my belief that tech distribution is not just about logistics and credit. It's about empowering people, empowering partners, customers, transformation. How do you enable underserved markets? How do you champion growth for world-class brands? How do you help agile partners scale quickly? And so my journey reflects a belief that every market, whether it is rural on one side, urban on the other side, upcountry, um, everybody deserves access to innovation and access to the tools to succeed. And so our mission in the distribution organization is to democratize opportunity across geographies and sectors. And we need to create value. The value creation is important. And our IP is people, process, and technology, putting them all together. And so it's really shaped up in a way, how do I bring all of my experiences together?
Yeah, that's great. Well, I tell you, the supplier and I wasn't aware of the supplier experience. That I'm sure has really been helpful to you because, obviously a major part of the role is not only, supporting the suppliers, but understanding the mindset that they have going to market. And I think there's a lot of folks that who don't have that level of experience struggle a little bit with that. Yeah.
Sure. No, no. In fact, every time in the company something happens and they talk about the brands and the OEMs and the suppliers, and it always, I trigger their thoughts saying, this is how a brand thinks. And for them, a distribution is a means to an end. If you don't bring value, if you don't show how you're going to grow the pie, if you don't show which spaces you want to get into, you'll never be able to connect directly with the brands and what they need. And so it's that experience has really helped me very good.
Yeah, yeah. I experienced a similar situation after a lot of years in the supplier side. I became a solution provider executive for a couple of years. Company was owned by private equity, and it was the same situation. I'd get in a meeting, and the team would be talking about working with a supplier, and they called it the dark side. And I would be like, well, wait a minute. I wasn't defending them, but I was trying to at least get them to understand a different
Totally,
perspective,
totally.
right?
Yeah,
Which is important for what we do. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's great
Absolutely.
experience. So, Redington is our latest, for folks that aren't aware, GTDC member, and we're thrilled
Sure,
with that. Obviously, you operate, with us in certainly in Asia, but also in the Middle East.
sure.
Talk a little bit about Redington Group, if you will, and where you guys are, and of course you started a little bit with your perspective on distribution. Love to hear more of that because I I feel the same way.
Certainly. So at Redington, our story today is about what we call as unlocking the next. That's our tagline, narrative, motto. We see ourselves as more than a distributor. We are an orchestrator of growth, helping businesses and partners unlock what's in technology, unlock what is there in the market, unlock opportunities. And today, after almost 32 years, we work across 40 plus countries, partnering with 450 global technology brands and a transacting set of partners, 70,000 plus. We are the top 10 across the world in the industry without presence in US, Europe, and China. We're very proud of that. But what sets us apart isn't just the scale, it's our ability to combine products, services, platforms into outcomes for customers and outcomes for partners, whether it's cloud adoption, whether it is AI enablement, cybersecurity, resilience, sustainability programs. Our goal is to empower partners to move faster and move quicker. For example, just give a few examples. Our platform, CloudQuarks, which is our cloud platform, we don't just give access to technology, we create an ecosystem where our partners can deliver innovation to the last mile to their customers. Our financial services, in addition to our own credit, the channel financing, project financing that we bring to the table, we make technology accessible to our customers and make affordability not a barrier, right? And then we have professional services in cloud business where we create competencies on migration, modernization. So we bring more things than just hardware, credit, and logistics. Our role in the global IT community is to make sure Redington continues to be the bridge between what we call as the possibility and the reality. And
Mm.
distribution isn't about boxes anymore. Clearly, the transition from hardware to software and everything as a service is about unlocking growth, unlocking access, efficiency, trust, impact. And that's the journey we are on. And that makes it really exciting because we truly look at what value addition we can bring beyond boxes, beyond logistics and credit, and do a whole lot of other things today.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that's exactly right in terms of, I think, what the customers and the suppliers want and need. There's no question. The thing that's interesting, and it's one of the things that I've been thinking about for a few years, is the term distribution doesn't accurately describe at all what you now do, right? It just doesn't. And in fact, what it does is it conjures up the idea of, boxes, logistics, warehousing, etc. And but we haven't figured out a better word yet either. So, but I've been on a couple of things that we've talked about, and certainly when we're together in Singapore in November, we'll talk about more of this. But I think the orchestration piece is not well understood yet, and I think people will begin to get a sense for it as it continues. But I think that's really important. The other thing is the integration piece. I mean, nobody else has the relationships that Disty has in terms of, multiple vendors being able to
And we
pull all
can call
that
it different
together.
words. We can say aggregation, we can say stitching, we can say bringing it together, orchestration.
Yeah.
I have another word, cocktail mixing. So you're actually mixing a bunch of different things, but there are many, many, and I think it's going to get more and more crucial as time goes by because the number of software as a service and with agentic AI, the number of services as software can all actually explode in terms of the aggregation piece and the orchestration piece, I believe, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me ask you a question then as it relates to, because you mentioned, the technology, the market, the opportunities. You
Yeah,
can't really talk about that these days without talking about AI and getting
right,
into AI and the
right,
opportunities there.
right.
What role do you think distributors and specifically Redington can play as this gets rolled out, right? In other words, what are your customers, asking for help? What kind of help do they want, and what do you think is reasonable in terms of what distribution can do?
Certainly. And we are still in the early stages of AI. And of course, we get continually surprised on what's coming out the next day, the next week. And so I believe as distributors, we have a very important role to play in AI, not just as suppliers of technology, but as democratizers of innovation. And for most businesses, especially in emerging markets like ours, AI can feel complex, can feel expensive, and can feel out of reach. Those are all very critical components. Our job is to make it accessible, practical, and safe for every partner and every customer. Let me start with a little bit of what is the kind of things that people are asking, customers are seeking and asking. Some of them are wanting real outcome-driven AI services like predictive analytics to forecasting sales. They're looking for supply chains. They're looking for AI-powered security to detect threats faster. Looking for chatbots, digital assistants, a whole lot of things. And Gen AI is beginning to get used in marketing, content, automation, legal, contracts, the whole range. And the solutions that we're seeing can range from simple commoditized AI, starting with working with a copilot and creating a solution around it, to semi-custom to fully custom. So there are a couple of approaches that we are exploring and taking. So I'll just talk about some of the steps we think and we want to go about. Firstly, we want to curate AI solutions from global innovators. And these global innovators can be both hardware and software, can range from PCs, workstation servers, storage software. And we want to bundle these products, could be hardware, software as a service, and service as a software through local partners and take them to market quickly. So that's the first part. And we talked about orchestration. That is the simplest part. So we want to be all AI-enabled devices, AI-enabled software. We bring them together, AI-enabled services to take them to market. That's the first step. And we are looking at in every go-to-market and every business unit, we take this proactive approach. But I think the second area is probably most critical, and we still are we are a long way away, but I think we've got it figured out. The actual use cases that are going to create the transformation require various approaches and to create workable, affordable solutions. So one of the things that we have embarked on is to create our own AI capability centers where we take use cases from within the company, and we have around 75 use cases and about 25 POCs work in process. We're also taking AI use cases from our software solutions group unit that works with partners who work with customers and all the AI use cases. We put it through our capability center. Some of the solutions we can come up with internally. And then we work with a lot of ISVs to create solutions. Now that's the first part. So we need to build the competency and understanding of how to solve the AI use cases and what are quick and dirty with an agentic approach, what are slightly more complex and what are somewhat more complex. And obviously we are not trying to do what the global SIs will do. We are trying to do the simple, easy speed automation. Now, as a result of this, we want to replicate these capability centers and create channel partners who are like AI MSPs. We used to have this term cloud service providers for cloud, MSSPs for security service providers. We want to be able to create AI MSPs who will be able to again pick these use cases as we learn it. We will again train them on the competencies, what kind of platforms and tools they need to have, so we can replicate and build a few hundred, few thousand AI MSPs. So that's an approach we are taking to solve for use cases. Some of them will be just selling agentic AI as it is. Some of them will be some simple solutions around agentic AI. Some of them will be complex solutions working with ISVs who are capable of doing that. But the most exciting part actually I see on AI is no longer it is limited to large enterprises. When we were on the cloud digital transformation journey, it seemed like it was largely enterprise centric, but clearly mid market has started moving and adoption of cloud is increasing dramatically there. And at the same time, this AI is going to enable a lot of mid market and consumers. A retailer in Nairobi, an SMB in Bangalore, hospital in Dubai, all want AI to make them smarter, leaner, faster. And our role as distributors is to be a bridge between aspiration and reality, making sure AI doesn't stay in the labs and doesn't sound complex and expensive only for the enterprises, as I said earlier, but reaches everywhere. And that's how we'll truly unlock the AI opportunity.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the SMB piece that you mentioned is really interesting because I think to your point, every individual that's on the planet these days is talking about AI and doing something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And when it starts at that level, it quickly permeates kind of this way, as opposed to, if it was just an enterprise solution, it would take a long time to come down. So I think that's a good approach. And frankly, we're starting to see what you're describing. A lot of people will tell you we're still in the extraordinarily early stages, which I know we are, but I do think people are hungry for the use cases that demonstrate productivity gains, as well as where can this ultimately go, right? How significant can it be? And it's funny, the use cases we've seen, they tend to be very vertical in nature, if you will, right? Specifically to, call centers maybe, and, places like that, but it'll grow as time goes on for sure. That's interesting. So let me ask you a question sort of related, but stepping back a minute and looking up a little bit higher in terms of your customers. I know you're, fully engaged. You mentioned you've got 70,000 customers. What are you hearing from the markets that you operate in terms of, because there's obviously all the conflict that we've had in, Europe, the Middle East, and, various places, tariffs, for example. I mean, there's a lot going on. What are you hearing from your customers? How do they feel about what's happening? And, as a result, what level of confidence do you have in what's going on?
And you're really talking about, is the business sounding bullish, our enterprise customers and mid-market customers in our part of the world sounding bullish, and
Yeah.
how are they doing? So,
Yeah.
so let me step back a little bit. So we are in geographies such as India, UAE, KSA, Africa, and clearly the market has been a bit on a roll, good growth, quite bullish. And I'll talk a little bit category by category because we are in four different categories. One is the smartphone category, the PC category, the server storage category, and then the everything as a service, cloud, software solutions, etc. We are seeing good growth on smartphones in our markets, and in India, we see stupendous growth, largely driven by premiumization in the market. And clearly, the premium phones are taking off. And India's premium urban, the way they're buying premium smartphones, every NPI that happens is amazing. And you're talking about, the last year we had a 15 to 20% growth on smartphones across the geographies we were in. This last quarter, it was 40%. And it's a
Wow.
bit crazy. So, and these are publicly available numbers. PCs have been somewhat muted a little bit for the last several quarters, but again, we're beginning to see some good tailwinds there. Combination of transition from Windows 10 to 11, which was waiting for a while. The refresh cycle of people who bought during COVID had not refreshed their PCs, and a little bit of push on the AI adoption. So we are mildly bullish on the PC segment for the next 3, 4 quarters because we believe these are going to be some drivers on the businesses. Clearly, the server storage and the software segments is where we are most bullish, and uh, largely the whole GPU AI GPU adoption for on-prem and cloud, and the number of data centers in our geographies is growing quite rapidly, and as a result, adoption of SaaS as well. Um, India is on a fantastic growth trajectory of almost 18 to 20% on cloud. UAE is investing in AI big time. Saudi has also been inviting all the biggies and investing in both the data center infrastructure and AI. So we see all of the geographies when it comes to enterprise quite bullish. Um, I think the key will be it'll be a bold customers will have to take a bold step of investing, but they also have to be pragmatic based on how much budgets they have and how much they can spend on transformation. Does it give them a revenue upside? Does it give them a cost advantage, cost savings? Uh, Clearly, customers that we see have deployed them well, see a 7% cost savings, 8% revenue increases, and so that will be the trick. While they double down on transformation, cloud, and AI, can I reap the benefits of it? How long will it take to reap the benefits, and how long do I have to wait for the returns?
Mm.
Now, that is one part, but all is not hunky dory. There are some headwinds as well. Clearly, tariffs are creating a little bit of fear and uncertainty in some of our markets, especially businesses who are exporting and who will get impacted. They'll have to look for alternate markets and how to deal with it and how to really cost cut to be able to be attractive where the tariffs have gone up. And So that will be one thing. There's also in the Middle East markets, we have had all the time some amount of geopolitical uncertainties, and that becomes a challenge from time to time. How do we manage risk versus return? And in the Middle Eastern and the Africa markets, the turmoil on currency, inflation, interest rates have also got to be managed quite well because we are dealing with geographies we are in are not necessarily all democracies. There are monarchies, there are autocracies, and all kinds, and we deal with all this, and we have mastered it over the last 20 years. But the risk and rate of return, all that has to be managed. So those are all concerns, but again, we'll have to mix those up. But I think the opportunity for us lies in being both bold and pragmatic. And we want to be bold in geographies which offer us the growth but less risk, and to be able to guide customers to adopt pragmatic solutions. And in the geographies which have more volatility and risk, to have pragmatic approaches to appropriating the right share of the business. And so we help customers unlock transformation with smart solutions. So we will do what it takes. We believe there's definitely good growth to be had. We've enjoyed in the since listing from 2008 a double-digit growth of almost 15% top line. We believe at the base we are in, we were $11.8 billion last year. There is a growth of 10 to 15% still available in our markets in the businesses we are in. And for software solutions and everything as a service, there is a growth of between 25 and 40% to be had. So definitely there is a market. How we execute, how we appropriate that, all of that will be the question now.
Yeah, well, which is what you've been doing and the other distributors have been doing for the last 30 plus years, right? The thing that's amazing to me is um, that as the technology world has evolved, you guys have had to consistently evolve your big businesses
Yeah,
and evolve them with not a lot of room for mistakes based
that's right.
on the margins. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand that challenge exists on a consistent basis. But I think the approach that you mentioned is exactly right. It's interesting. We just looked at the second quarter POS sales out data that we get from Context in GFK in Europe and IDC in North America, and soon hopefully we'll be getting it in APJ. But the numbers look to be about in the 7 to 9% range potentially at year end. We're looking at forecast also. So far this year they're about 6 to 7, but similar to what you described, good growth in software and services. PCs are doing really well in Europe right now. So I'm sure you see that in the Middle East. So that's positive. Well, look, this has been great, Harry. Wrapping up a little bit, I know there's another topic that you and I've spent some time talking about, certainly last year
Yeah,
when we were together, and sustainability, right?
yep, yep.
Sustainability is a big area that really, really needs focus. And a lot of that focus has been driven out of the EU in our EMEA region. And one of the things that we did as part of that is the executives from the GTDC companies in Europe really encouraged us to get into it from a GTDC standpoint. And we actually have an executive, former Disti exec, who's running the project for us. What are you seeing in terms of, you know, and what role does Redington Group play in sustainability, and where's that going? Because I think it's a big deal, frankly.
Yeah, we are actually beginning to play this on the front foot, as I call it. We are no longer saying sustainability is just a checkbox or a side project. It's becoming central to the IT industry with AI, hogging on so much power and water and all of that. But at Redington, we see our role as a responsible participant, but as a catalyst for change. And we
Mm.
want to do that, participate in that. Since we spoke earlier and met earlier, we've now created a group on sustainability. So I have a chief sustainability officer reporting directly to me.
Wow.
And his role stretches on one side, ESG imperatives. CSR, we have a big CSR need and practice in India, corporate social responsibility imperative, as well as running sustainable businesses. So I don't look at it in the company as a cost center. I look at it as a P&L.
Mm.
And how do we look? How can we look at it as a P&L? So let me talk a little bit more in detail. So I'll start with the ESG part first. So first of all, we are embedding ESG into our own operations by looking at everything, our offices, supply chain, entire operations. Our headquarter building, and I would love to have you, and I'll invite you to Chennai headquarters, is actually a LEED Platinum certified building. And a lot of
Wow.
the new offices we are opening in India are actually going to be applied for LEED certification. So we actually are quite environmental friendly, even in our buildings, and getting greener. We have solarized quite a few of our offices, both in India and Dubai, and we are actually stepping that up because we are beginning to see cost savings by investing in solar parks and setting them off against the electricity bill we get. We're looking at the entire value chain, our carbon footprint, carbon consumption. We as a listed company, have to report our BRSR reports in our annual report annually. And all of this effort has allowed us to get an A rating on the MSCI ESG rating list. And we were also number 31 on the Business World list of most sustainable companies in India. So we're proud we're making progress. Now, that is the ESG part. The business part is even more exciting. So there are two businesses that are currently in our area of focus when it comes to sustainability. We have a solar distribution business in India and starting off in East Africa. It is focused on rooftop distribution business, and we see ourselves to be able to leverage our distribution value add from the IT industry for the solar rooftop business with solar panels and inverters to be able to work on logistics, channel financing, solutioning, a whole lot of things, and be able to become an organized distributor, first of its kind in these markets. So we're working on that, and we're building this business out. It's quite exciting because it, on one side, it contributes to our ability to contribute to the planet as well as it's a P&L. Secondly, we have started a little bit at a time on recycling, and we're starting to work on both PCs and servers recycling in India. We started some pilots going very well. And the way we are building this is circularity should lead to expansion of the market. When we take products back, we're not just looking at recycling. Can we get it early in the life cycle so that we can refurbish it and give it back to startups and SMBs on one side, bottom of the pyramid customers for consumers on the other side, and at the same time pulling forward refresh cycles for our existing customers with AI. So it ends up expanding the market for our brands. So we're exploring how to do this, and that's again a very exciting. I'm very excited about circularity and being able to play a role in that. So we play a role from everything from take back to reverse logistics to assessment of pricing to finding the right recyclers, refurbishers, finding a new channel for refurbished products, etc. And again, everything that we are doing, we want to bring our food chain along, our 70,000 partners. Brands are already ahead in the game. We want to be able to adopt what the brands are trying to do. And we are already talking to the big ones in the PC and the server space in terms of what their sustainability practices are and what they would like us to do. And so all of this, the whole value chain also gets influenced in a big way. And what excites me is it becomes a shared language. It's not standalone in the company and otherwise between technology, business, and society. And we can now unlock more opportunities in a different area, but it also allows us to, as I said earlier, expand the pie. And it's responsible transformation, helping our partners and communities in a way that we couldn't have imagined before. So I'm very hot on this, and we are making small steps. But clearly, you will see in the next 12 to 18 months, we'll make some good big strides in sustainability.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, what you just described is certainly more than just checking the box. And the other piece that's interesting is blending IT distribution into other industries. That's very interesting. And because we know there's distributors everywhere, whether it's food services, whether it's construction services, plumbing, etc. But you're now kind of blending that a little bit, which is good. Well, this has been great, Hari. This is a terrific overview of what you guys are doing. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I certainly look forward to seeing you in November at our event in Singapore.
Thank you. Thank you. And I do want to just leave a couple of thoughts as a closing as well. And first of all, thanks for having me here. And distribution, again, is no longer about moving boxes, and it's about creating possibilities. And our role as distributors will be to bridge the whole transition between innovation and adoption and make the transformation inclusive, accessible, and responsible. And we want to be able to unlock these opportunities for every partner, every customer, every region we are in, and working with all the global brands and It is again across consumer, small, medium business, mid-market, and enterprise. We are very excited about the future and what it holds for us as distributors.
Yeah, well, that's great. So very well said, and thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, Frank.